heartland of America, black and brown communities all throughout America don't experience premium increases that in some cases will go up by $1,000 or $2,000 per year. In many cases, month after month after month, $1,000 or $2,000 per month, tens of thousands of dollars per year. Unacceptable in this country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And this is in the midst of a Republican healthcare crisis. Republicans enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped health insurance away from 14 million Americans. As a result of Republican policies, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing all across America, including in rural parts of this great country of ours. And now, because of Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are at risk of being unable to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. In this country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, it can't be the case that health care is simply a privilege for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Mr. Speaker, that's the Republican perspective. We believe as Democrats that health care has to be a right, and a right that's affordable and available to every single American in the United States. That's what this fight is all about. And that's what the fight will continue to be about as we move forward. Many of my Republican colleagues have suggested that they want to deal with the health care affordability issue, that they want to address the Republican health care crisis that's devastating people all across this country. Well, we have an opportunity for you to do so. There's a discharge petition connected to legislation that House Democrats have introduced to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years, because we believe that working-class Americans, middle-class Americans, and everyday Americans deserve the same level of certainty that Republicans always provide to the wealthy, the well-off, and their well-connected donors. Working-class Americans deserve that level of certainty. So join us in extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. It's not too late. We're in the midst of open enrollment, but the tax credits expire on December 31st. And we will stay on this issue until we get this issue resolved for everyday Americans. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I've had the opportunity, as many of us do, to serve in the United States Congress with legendary figures, too numerous to mention. Legendary members, of course, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, the great Jim Clyburn, Maxine Waters, Elijah Cummings, Charlie Rangel, our own Marcy Kaptur, the longest-serving woman in the history of the United States House of Representatives. We've all had the opportunity to serve with legendary members, John Dingell, too numerous to mention. But one can't call that roll without calling the name of the great John Lewis. I had the distinct honor of serving with John Lewis for several terms. Many of us here in the House of Representatives did. I'll never forget, on my first day in the Congress, I had the opportunity to meet John Lewis for the first time in person. And he called me over to see him on the House floor, and he just asked me a simple question. He said, "Are you the new guy?" And I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis, I am." And he said, "Well, we're colleagues now. You don't have to call me Mr. Lewis. You can call me John." I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis, I understand." And then he said to me, "You're from Brooklyn, right?" Now, Mr. Speaker, I got to be honest, I was tempted to say, Brooklyn is always in the house. But instead, Since my mother raised me with some sense, Lenita Jeffries, I said, yes, sir, I'm from Brooklyn. And then he said something to me that I've never forgotten. He said, well, I hear some positive things about you from your predecessor, but Washington, D.C., young man, can be a rough place. So I don't want you to get into any trouble unless it's good trouble. And I just wanted to stop by on the House floor to make sure it was clear to the American people that the spirit of John Lewis lives amongst House Democrats, and we will continue to get into good trouble to make their life better. That's our commitment to every single American all across this country, from this day and for every day moving forward. And it was John Lewis who said to us that ours is not the struggle of one day, 1 week, or 1 year. Ours is the struggle of a lifetime, and maybe even many lifetimes. And each one of us in every generation must do our part. Mr. Lewis, we love you. We were blessed by our opportunity to serve with you, and House Democrats are here to do our part. We're in this fight until we win this fight for the American people. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president. The gentlewoman from Connecticut has 30 seconds remaining and is recognized.
I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from Connecticut yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's my distinct pleasure to yield the balance of our time to the distinguished Speaker of the House, my very good friend and a person I admire greatly.
1 minute. 1 minute.
I'm actually just going to hold you to 1 minute, Mr. Speaker. My good friend, the gentleman from Louisiana, Speaker Mike Johnson.
The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you. I want to thank my friend Chairman Cole's done an extraordinary job in this process. And Mr. Speaker, we all know why we're here. House Democrats voted to shut the government down. It was 54 days ago when we had that vote, September 19th. And since that time, Senate Democrats have voted 14 times to close the government. Republicans voted a collective 15 times to open the government for the people, and the Democrats voted that many times to close it. And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was pointless. It was wrong, and it was cruel. In mere moments, I want you to watch the board. They're going to do it again. I'm going to guess for you that most of our Democrat colleagues are going to vote again to close the government, again to take food out of the mouths of families that need it, again to deny pay to federal employees, again to stall flights and cancel airlines and do all the rest that they've done. But we are not going to let them succeed in that gambit. And that's right. While the Democrats keep voting to shut the government down, Republicans are going to vote to open it back up. And with that, we're going to get the American government running again and working for the people as they deserve. I'm going to close with this. You know, as Speaker, you have the ability to talk as long as you want, but I'm not going to do that tonight. We're not going to waste any more time of the people. I'm just going to say this. I think that everybody needs to remember this one simple thing. From the very beginning of this whole ordeal, on the Republican side, we operated in good faith. We offered a clean, nonpartisan CR. We were honest and transparent with the American people from the very beginning, and every single day of the shutdown, we went out and looked right into the camera with a press conference and told the American people the simple truth. We have done for the people what has been right and just and truthful. And in the end, that is what God honors always. Don't forget it. We need to get this government open as soon as possible, and I'm going to yield back the remainder of my time so we can do that. The American people demand it and deserve it. My friends, let's get this done. Thank you. I yield back.
Proud of you.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma has 3 minutes remaining and is recognized.
I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 873, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion by the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. For what purpose does the gentleman from Connecticut stand?
Mr. Speaker, I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
Well, good evening, everybody. We feel very relieved tonight. The Democrat shutdown is finally over, thanks to House and Senate Republicans who stood together to get the job done. Absolutely no question in anybody's mind now that the Democrats were responsible for this. What happened? Millions of American families went without food on their table. You had millions of Americans stranded in airports with their flights canceled and delayed. You had troops and federal employees wondering where their next paycheck would come from. The Democrats openly admitted, many of them said it in their own words, that they used the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause that pain to the people, and they did it anyway. They did it for their own selfish purposes, their political purposes, and it was a game they played with real people's lives. It's something that is very difficult to forgive. I want to say that all this was utterly pointless and foolish. This outcome was totally foreseeable. I said that this would be the outcome when all this began back in mid-September. They did it anyway. Democrats admitted that they used the people as leverage, and they got nothing for their selfish political stunt here. They didn't achieve anything with this at all. And anyone who studied history would know that shutdowns never yield any positive result. It just hurts people. I said on the House floor a little while ago that we did all this in good faith. From the very beginning, I was insistent about this. Our leadership team was. The Republicans did the right thing. We had a nonpartisan continuing resolution. We didn't have any Republican priorities on it at all. We just said, in good faith, let's keep the lights on. Let's keep this going for another 7 weeks so that the Congress can do its work, so they can get back to the regular appropriations process, the way that it is supposed to be done for the people, so that we're good stewards with their money. That hasn't been done here in a long time. And we said we want to get back to that. Now, I'm pleased that tonight on the CR we had 3 appropriations bills that we'll send over to the President's desk in just a short amount of time tonight to get signed into law. That's an innovation too. As you all know, it's been years since Congress actually did separate appropriations bills. I'm proud of that achievement, but I'm really sad that it took us so long to get here. It was so much pain that had to be endured to get to this point. Voters are going to remember which political party played games with their lives. They're going to remember that they did this for their own selfish purposes so that they could look tough to the radical elements of their base, and real people suffered because of that game. So now that we've got the lights back on, we've got the government reopened, the President will sign that triumphantly tonight, and Republicans will get right back to the work that we promised the American people that we will do. We're going to deliver for the American people, as we have been doing. And I'll leave you with this thought. There's a split screen in America right now. There's a split screen. On one side of the screen, you have President Trump and the Republican majorities in the Congress and the Senate and the House doing the work for the American people. Look what we've achieved in the first 10 months of this year. You can make an argument that it's the most productive season for a new Congress and a new presidency, a new administration, at least in the modern era, maybe of all time. Just in this short amount of months, we got the border secured. We fulfilled that promise. We are working on the crime crisis around the country. We have new trade agreements. We have a return to American energy dominance. We have cut taxes, the largest tax cut in U.S. history in a literal sense. We're cutting regulations. We're ending fraud, waste, and abuse out of government. We're shoring up the safety net programs like Medicaid so that it's there for the people that desperately need it, and it is not being abused by illegal aliens and by young able-bodied men who are not eligible to receive that. We are doing all this good work. The President, meanwhile, is using his authority to change the world, literally. He has ended 8 wars around the globe. All of this is happening on the Republican side and so much more. That's on one side of the screen, and on the other is the Democrat Party. And what have they done? What do they have to show for the last 10 months of government here? They shut the government down. They voted 15 times to close the government and exact that pain on everyone. We can never forget that. They haven't achieved anything beyond that except pushing ICE officers around and really spurring on political violence. So I want to say that there's a reason the Democrats are in disarray right now. There's a reason they don't have an identified leader of their party. There's a reason that their favorability, even amongst those in their own party, is at lowest of all time. They don't have a platform, a principle they can defend. They don't have a leader except for Mondami, who's the new mayor of New York City and leading the party into Marxism and socialism. I think everybody should consider that split screen. I think you should look at it truthfully and honestly and objectively. And I think you can evaluate for yourself which party's working for the people. We're anxious to get that done, to work on health care and affordability and all the issues, to continue doing what we've done. And we look forward to rolling that out for you in the next several days. A few questions, yes?
You said earlier that you would repeal that FBI provision that's in the bill right now. Do you have assurances from Leader Thune that he will bring it up in the Senate?
I did call Leader Thune this morning. I want to say that he's a principled leader. I've enjoyed working with him. We've got a great working relationship and a good friendship. He's a trustworthy, honest broker. And that's why I was so surprised when we found out about that provision. It was put in our clean CR at the last moment. I'm just be honest, I'm very transparent with you all. I was very angry about it. I was. And a lot of my members called me and said, did you know about it? We had no idea. That was dropped in at the last minute. And I did not appreciate that, nor did most of the House members. Many of them are very angry about that. So we will be bringing that up. We'll probably pass it on suspension early next week, and we'll send it over to the Senate. I had a conversation with Leader Thune early this morning about it. I think he regretted the way it was done, and we had an honest conversation about that. I didn't ask him for any commitment at that time because I had a lot on my plate today, and I've been busy ever since that conversation we had early this morning. But I'm going to speak as truthfully to him as I am to all of you and tell you that I think that was way out of line. I don't think that was a smart thing to do. I don't think it was the right thing to do, and the House is going to reverse it. We're going to repeal that, and I'm going to expect our colleagues in the Senate to do the same thing.
Mr. Speaker, you said that you're for full transparency. So why not just urge all your Republicans to vote for this massive Connell bill on the Epstein files next week? Put out all the files. Let the American public judge for themselves what these files are all about.
Thank you for asking the question. We have been for maximum transparency of the Epstein files from the very beginning. What I was opposed to is the reckless disregard that was used in drafting the discharge petition. And we've been over this many times, but it was not drafted in such a way that it would adequately protect innocent victims. We have a responsibility to do that. There's as many as 1,000 women, by some estimates, of people who have been victimized because of the sex trafficking and Epstein and all these horrendous, heinous crimes, and we can't have them subjected to any further harm. So we wanted to make sure that they were whose names were properly redacted out of the files. But the discharge petition is not only reckless, it is also a totally moot point. The Oversight Committee has been working, as you all know, around the clock, working on this. And you have some of the toughest members of Congress on the Republican and Democrat side who are working in bipartisan fashion to go through and release those files. As we stand here tonight, I think we're up to over 50,000 pages of records that are out in the open. You can go online tonight if you're at home and go through it yourself. And the Epstein estate files thus far has been the biggest tranche of important information. We found that outside of the scope of the discharge petition because it was never even anticipated or included in the discharge. The Oversight Committee, well, let me finish. The Oversight Committee has been digging into that, and some of the most valuable information was in the estate files. It includes Jeffrey Epstein's own personal logs, his travel logs, his financial ledgers, his daily calendar. All this is now out in the public, and more is to come. Chairman Comer of the Oversight Committee has done an extraordinary job. You have, again, some of the most notable members in Congress working on that around the clock, and they will continue to have full disclosure. I want to say this tonight, and I think this is a shame to a lot of the Hill Press Corps. I'm not going to name any of you by name, but I haven't seen many stories written yet about the fact that we put the discharge up for unanimous consent on the floor tonight. The Republicans, the Speaker, and the Republicans asked for unanimous consent to just go ahead and pass the discharge because I think it's a moot point. The Democrats objected to the unanimous consent. Nobody's written a story about that. That's stunning to me. How can you miss that? If it was about transparency, if it was about full disclosure, there's two questions you should ask every Democrat in the House and Senate. Why didn't you bring this up during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all these records the entire time? Nobody ever said a word about it. They didn't care. Now it's the biggest thing in the world. Didn't matter at all when Joe Biden had the files. And secondly, if they're for transparency and they really want all this to be out and there's such this urgency, then why did they vote down the unanimous consent to pass the discharge petition tonight? I can't answer that question, but they should. And every one of you should ask them about it. Yes.
Thank you. There are several members of your own conference that support at least a 1-year extension of ACA subsidies. Others have alternative plans. Now that you're beyond this and as January 30th deadline looms, Are you willing to put any one of those measures potentially on the floor?
I've been asked 100 times whether I'll commit to putting any ACA extension on the floor. What I have said from the very beginning, and we were consistent about this, and you all know from day one, the first order of business was to get the government open and working for the people again. It's the most basic responsibility, and we finally got that done tonight. And I said, as soon as the government was open, we would turn our attention to health care and all the other issues that are out there. We are willing to work and have always been willing to work in good faith with anybody in this building who wants to bring down the cost of health care. The Unaffordable Care Act, the ACA, did exactly the opposite of what they promised it. When the Democrats passed their health care law back in 2010, you all remember, the average American would have their premiums reduced by $2,500. They swore to you, and that was not true. And I think the people that drew it up knew it was not true in the very beginning. It was a lie. The people that were the architects of Obamacare, of the ACA, wanted single payer. They designed a system that they knew, they had to know, because they're really intelligent folks, was going to implode on itself. They knew that it was not sustainable. And what has happened since that time, and we're going to be going through this in great detail next week, get ready. We're going to take you through a timeline of who destroyed American health care. And I'll give you a hint. It didn't have anything to do with the Republican Party. It was the Democrats. They're the ones that gave you the Unaffordable Care Act. They're the ones that have been trying to subsidize it and prop it up and add to it ever since. We're the ones that have been trying to fix it. The Republican Party has. What has happened since the Democrats wrecked American health care is that your premiums have gone up by some cases 60%, in some cases more. And it's going to go up further. So their solution is right now they want to subsidize it further. They want to subsidize insurance companies. They want the COVID era extension that was created by the Democrats themselves. They created the subsidy. They're the ones that put the expiration date of December 31 of 2025 on that. They knew it wasn't going to be permanent because it was a boondoggle. And now they're trying to claim it's Republicans' fault? The Democrats created it. The Democrats broke it. The Democrats are driving your cost up. Who are you going to trust to fix health care? It's the Republican Party. Because we have volumes of ideas on how to do this, on how to fix it, on how to drive costs down, and how to increase access to care and quality of care, and you're going to see all that vigorous debate. So the answer to your question is, am I going to guarantee a vote on ACA unreformed COVID-era subsidies that is just a boondoggle to insurance companies and robs the taxpayer? We got a lot of work to do on that. The Republicans would demand a lot of reforms before anything like that was ever possible, and we have to go through that deliberative process. We have currently 433 members of the House of Representatives. There's a lot of opinions in this building, and on our side, certainly a lot of opinions on how to fix health care and make it more affordable. I have to allow that process to play out. I'll leave you with this. The biggest objection that I had to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who are playing political games with people's lives when they shut the government down, was Chuck Schumer came out and said the quiet part out loud. I don't even think he realized, he has no self-awareness. But he came and cried to all of you that I would not agree to go into a back room and make a four corners agreement on these issues. That just he and I and Hakeem Jeffries and Leader Thune would go in a room and make this decision for the entire population of America and block out all of our colleagues as if they had no voice in it. That is why Washington is broken. That's why Congress hasn't worked well for people. That's why they don't have a lot of faith in what goes on here. And I'm committed to trying to restore that faith. And one way we do that is we get back to regular order, and we allow all the duly elected members of this body to have their voices heard. I'm not playing games, and Chuck Schumer, I'm not going in a back room with you and making a four corners deal on anything. And I hope you understand that. Thank you all. We got the government open. Let's celebrate tonight. They did the right thing. We congratulate them.
Well, thank you very much. This is a big day, big night. Very important what is taking place because we've seen how good government can be and how bad government can be. People don't know what they're doing. For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens and people that came into our country illegally, from gangs, from prisons, from mental institutions. They wanted to pay them $1.5 trillion, which would have really hurt our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today, we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort, the Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment, I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along, many days ago, this cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and numerous other great Republican leaders and congressmen and senators who are here and who frankly spent a long time in Washington getting this thing to go away. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans that stood with us in this fight to reopen government, including the Teamsters, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Fraternal Order of Police, AMVETS, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association. These are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass great, really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't. Today we had the highest stock market price ever in all of the different markets. We set a record. It's the 48th time in the 9 months that I've been in office that we had this record set. So think of that, 48 times we had a record set. But today is the highest of them all. We're going to break new grounds. Nobody would have thought. I have with us not only the great political leaders, but the great business leaders of our country. They're standing right behind me and right really alongside of me. And if we would have told them a year ago that we'd be having stock prices this high, none of them, in fact, I just asked them that question, none of them would have believed it. And that inures to jobs and, very importantly, to 401ks, which have also set a record today. A record high for the people that have 401ks. And also I want to thank Walmart because they came up with a fantastic study. It was the cost of Thanksgiving coming up and the cost of Thanksgiving from a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden. And we're 25% lower this year than we were a year ago. And it's a very inclusive report. So I want to thank Walmart. They've done it for many years, but we believe in that, and we believe in that company. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness. But unfortunately, the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer, too. And the Democrats admitted. They said, well, no, we finally have a point. Even though people have to suffer, we finally have a point, and that didn't work out too well for them. But they really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base, but that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before. We actually elected a mayor of New York City who happens to be a communist. When was that going to happen? Remember, I said all the time during my campaign, we will never be a socialist country, and that's right. We turned out to have a communist in New York City, and if you look at his views, those are the views of a communist, not a socialist. So this is no way to run a country. I hope we can all agree that the government should never be shut down again, end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster. It'll never happen again. So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like a really massive tax cut. It's the equivalent of that. And speaking of tax cuts, our great, big, beautiful bill is giving everybody in our economy, middle income workers, low income, everybody, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and very importantly, no tax on overtime. You work overtime, there's no tax. That's among the things that add up to the biggest tax cut in history. And one other thing, you hear about rich people with deductions. Well, when you buy your car and you borrow money, you're allowed to now deduct the interest on that loan. So you can take that interest deduction and what you can take is that interest payment and deduct it for income tax purposes. That's a tremendous tax cut right there. But it all includes fixing the healthcare system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, he said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have now it's over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for going. Thank you. Great.
It's a great day.
Well done, Mr. President.
Great job.
Good try.